Welcome to the Future of Structures podcast, where we talk to the experts who are evolving our buildings for tomorrow. And here is your host, Adam Jones.
Today we are speaking with Kevin Devito. He's the CEO of Cybercity3d. So they're the future of smart 3D mapping and planning. So they get the satellite imagery or the imagery of the 3D imagery of the city and then turn it to a really sophisticated 3D model for the city, which they can give to Autodesk, and then eventually, there's all kinds of sophisticated uses of it that we can use. So some of them might be energy modelling, even for advertisements for movies and games, and for environmental impacts or wind modelling for structural engineers. So there's so many uses for it at the moment. So the data's there, and now it's just finding the sophisticated uses for it and building the apps to support it. So I hope you guys learned as much as I did, and without any further ado, here is Kevin Devito.
I graduated from University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. I almost said USC. That's really, really bad. And with a degree in economics and foreign relations, worked in media and financial media and advertising a little bit when I got out of college, and then sort of pivoted to venture capital. And through my work helping run technology companies, helping startups obtain capital and grow, I met the founders of Cybercity3d, and one thing led to another, and I became the CEO of Cybercity3d, and we've been running this company now for 8 years. And so I'm sort of I was a steward originally in 3D, and I guess now you can call me an expert because I think I've probably seen every 3D product imaginable because of our involvement in providing content.
Yeah, nice. So you mentioned the 3D models and things like that. So what does your company do, and then how has this, I guess, evolved over the 8 years since you've been at the company as CEO?
Yeah, so the technology itself has been around a while, although we've recently gotten patent approvals on it. So it's kind of interesting. It's been around a while, but its life just got extended by a long time because of recent patent approvals. And it's essentially a really smart 3D modeling software application that derives its information from stereo imagery. And when you have the stereo imagery, you can see in 3D and you can collect information. That information can be translated into 3D graphics files and measurements. So the output is a 3D model of the structure and the important measurement information that can be derived from that structure, such as the volume of the building or the size of the roof or the type of the square footage of or square meter size of the roof plane or the building footprint or the height relative to sea level. So there's like 16, 17 data sets that get included into the 3D buildings. And I think the evolution of our industry hasn't been really from us. We've kind of been doing the same thing for a long time. It's the market that has changed dramatically, and those changes can be attributed to the digital revolution. And I think that the digital revolution and the internet has finally gotten to design build software and is now moving to the internet. And so information is being shared and translated and utilized at a super fast speed. And so our market has changed rapidly to a web streaming technology, and we're more like a Mapbox than we were an Autodesk, even though Autodesk is probably our biggest customer. So, and Autodesk has also moved to the web, as you're well aware, and to subscription models. So the industry has changed dramatically, and the mapping industry has changed, but our product really hasn't.
Yeah, nice. So 8 years ago I guess there's been huge technology changes since then. Probably 8 to 10 years ago. I think was Google Maps starting to come around then. So
yes, and we were the first company on Google Earth, 3D building wise. We were the first third party company, and we were layering Google Earth. Google was the pioneer in 3D Globe, but they moved to Android and found that location mapping was where the money was made, because you can integrate it into advertising. And so they sort of let Google Earth sort of just kind of become a shiny toy to universities and to researchers. And it's still there, but it's sort of it's not a relic yet. It's not like the Lisa computer, Apple, but it's definitely going to be. Google Earth probably will always be there, but I think everything has moved to Google Maps and to Android, and the technology changed dramatically from streaming actual 3D models to streaming context capture or mesh imagery, because there really was no need to have those individual models.
Yeah, awesome. So you mentioned you get a scan of, say, the city, and then you guys use that information and process it in different ways. So how do you get the original scan of the city? And then can you just tell us a little bit about the process of what happens once you got the scan?
Yeah, and that's the other big change in the industry. Is that originally, you would almost have to commission a flight to capture aerial imagery. Then the industry became very aerial imagery driven from real estate and security and everything, and so the imagery became more commoditized. And then it moved to satellite, because satellite imagery has gotten so effective in terms of its resolution capacity and its ability to capture stereo pairs. And so now we model most of our buildings from satellite imagery, which means that we can do it anywhere in the world, and the cost has dropped, significantly, and we can rapidly ramp up 3D city model requirements and 3D city models for customers that need that. Where before the cost was very, very high, now there's really no barrier at all. I have a relationship with Digital Globe, a derivative product relationship where we use their imagery, we model the buildings, and then we pay them a royalty.
Yeah, nice. So what you mentioned some of your customers. So what kind of customers do you have now? You mentioned Autodesk is one of your big customers. So yeah, who do you guys serve mostly at the moment in the industry?
Two types. There's the big players, the big GIS design build software players. That would be Esri and Autodesk and the users of their software. And the other group is the upstart software as a service companies. I can go through a list of customers that we work with: City Zenith, City Builder, Geotel.
Yep.
I could list others. There's many coming, and they're all now making it. They're all making money. There's VRM Tech out of Ireland that does asset network management using 3D content.
Yep.
And they're all building on this cesium platform. So Google Earth has sort of faded away. Cesium platform, 3D Globe, is an open architecture platform that has come into play, and companies have been embracing it for about 5 years. They finally have found ways to make money, and now you're seeing this next generation of software as a service, data as a service companies offer up subscription models and web-based service models. And there's there's 4, 5, or 6 successful companies now. I think there'll be 20 or 30 in the next couple of years.
Yeah, nice. So you mentioned cesium. Can you tell us a little bit about cesium, and it's going to be a better service than Google Earth, you said?
Yeah, cesium is a Java-based 3D Globe application that has some really unique characteristics. It offers some base map information, and it allows you to program and write your own code into the system. It's very stable. It's 100% web-based, and it allows for users to build their own apps and then manage their own content. And has been around as a sort of a tool for an application tool for the military and military intelligence, but now it's becoming more commercial because of the retirement of Google Earth. And you can find that. I think the new product they have is Cesium Composer, which is a build-it-yourself web app that streams the globe, and then you build on top of that globe. And you could bring in 3D objects. They have a great 3D tiling technology that allows you to manage information on a kind of a homogeneous tile system, which makes it very easy for the graphics card to read and to stream buildings.
Yeah, cool. All right, nice. So you mentioned now the Autodesk has the information that you guys provide them. So what do Autodesk do with that, and I guess how does that filter into solving other big problems that might be in the world at the moment?
Yeah,
or small problems.
Yeah, and that's the thing with 3D content. I mean, 3D for the sake of just being 3D is really not that great. I mean, that's what everybody's been looking at in the past. Oh, I've got 3D. That's great. What does that mean? It doesn't really mean anything. I just have 3D.
Yeah.
We look in 3D. We live in 3D. Now it's 3D to make decisions. Three-dimensional data has to help you make decisions. I mean, I believe there was the Nobel Prize just got issued to some scientists that are using, I think, a fluid-based system, a water-based system to look at three-dimensional images of peptides, because you can learn more. I mean, in medical science, 3D tells you a lot about how you understand all kinds of organic material. It's the same thing in the built environment. So with Autodesk, we have essentially become their de facto, their kind of go-to context as a service provider. And so we're launching a program with Autodesk users that allows for subscribers of Autodesk software to download, city model data that normally would be very expensive, but is now quite affordable because you have multiple, hundreds of users in a city. So before we were selling to a city for, say, $25,000, and they would use it within the city at the enterprise level. Now we go in and we build the city, and we have 100 users that download the software, and they all pay an incremental fee, and we make 5 times more money, and everybody benefits from it. And so that's context as a service. And that context is defined as the utilization of information to define what you want to say or what you want to do. So imagine our data surrounding a new library. And so people want to look at the library, but the context are the buildings around it and how they relate architecturally, how they relate physically, geospatially, and how they can affect the environment within that new development. So, how does the wind change? Where are the hot spots in the city? So there's a lot of things you do with it, but our service is really basic. It's context as a service. We bring it down. You become the creative genius behind that data.
Yeah, no, yeah. Straight away, I went on your website earlier and saw one of the maps, and it had also in the buildings in the pipeline in the city what's going to go up soon. So huge. That's hugely beneficial information for, I guess, new developments going up, understanding what is in the pipeline also.
Absolutely. And more programs like that have to be defined, and 3D really helps.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a really big help.
Yeah.
But we just have to keep it so simple, because engineers, design, build, project managers are so busy with so many things, and they have so many choices that you just need to make it a click of you click a button, the data comes in, you pay with a credit card, you're done. You can use it. You start working with it. You think about it with your stakeholders. You can use it for training. You can use the city model data for analysis. You can build a transportation model, a 3D dashboard of the city, do energy planning. Autodesk wants to just basically have all the software for the design-built environment. And so what they've done is they've bundled all their software into a program called Autodesk Collections, which means you pay one fee and you get all their AutoCAD, 3D Max, InfraWorks, Navisworks, Stingray, virtual reality, whatever. It's 18, 15, 16, 17, 18 different software products that you get for one flat fee. So that's where context as a service pops in, because now you need to populate those apps with city model data, and so we provide that.
Yeah, awesome. Yes, straight away. I could see there's on your website also. There's many different uses, but a few of the ones I liked with the structural engineering background with some of this information would be some of the wind modeling, because at the moment something like that. You'd build a 3D model and then get a big wind tunnel to blow wind on a smaller version of a city. But now I guess if you've got the actual 3D whole city in one, you can just apply the formula to that, and then you can save hundreds of thousands of dollars right there. Or also you mentioned the heating, so knowing how like the sun hits your building and your facade and the proposed buildings around it also have a huge impact. So yeah, extremely exciting things there.
Yeah,
that's
think
that's probably
really
2 of 100 uses.
Yeah, and so the question is, the science is there, the technology's all over the place. So how do you make it work? Like with energy, let's not talk about energy. Let's talk about climate modeling. So you can go to Argonne Labs and you can run a model. You can input data of these 3D buildings, and you can look at all the different wind models that exist for that particular area, and you can see how the buildings interact and how the buildings change the wind, and you can say, hey, this particular corner is really, really windy in the wintertime, but in the summertime it's super calm. It would be a great place for a cafe in the summer. Now maybe people intuitively know that already. The owners of that restaurant know that in the summertime they can bring the tables out and hang out, and it's great, because they know the season. So those owners know that. But the model tells you the effect of the wind, right? It tells you where it's comfortable and not comfortable. That's a huge factor, even in looking at human health in terms of how disease can be spread, especially in underdeveloped parts of the world where you have shanties that are surrounding large buildings. So these wind models can save lives by understanding where to put structures and how to create wind tunnels or wind opportunities. And the same thing works in terms of heat islands within cities, parts of the city that get super hot during certain times of the year, or get really heavily shaded at other times of the year. Just knowing that information. So what do? You got to make it cheap. So the way to do it is to have it web-based, be able to just go in and kind of cut out a part of the city and pull it down on your software and go run your model out there on Azure or Google Cloud or whatever, and get that weather model running that's available at, say, Argonne Laboratory, and look at your weather model in your city and look at that content and go, okay, now I know if I build a 4-story building here, it is going to change some environmental factors, and I know what those environmental factors are. It'll allow me to put together a better environmental impact report. It'll allow me to make proposals, maybe change the proposal. And so that's all got to be cost effective. You got to make it plug and play to do that. So it's going to take companies that have intent to go into that and build those apps. And I think finally you're seeing those apps being built. I mean, really, people have been talking about it for years. Now you're finally seeing it. Yeah,
cool. There's also eye-catching 3D, I guess, movies for advertisements and for gaming and all that kind of stuff. So can it really get to the point where it can be the rendered so it looks almost photorealistic?
Yeah, I mean, realism is important. I always say if you want total realism, go take a picture because it looks really, if you want spatial and you want to go around a building and you really want that realism, you can have that. I think the key thing is now you have the advent, like Autodesk has Stingray, and there's other virtual reality apps, Real Engine, I think, and others. Those are going to be the next thing that people are going to use as applications become, reveal themselves. And virtual reality is going to be a big market for 3D city model data because you'll be able to put on the headsets and look around the city and come up with ideas and talk about different strategies. You can do it for security. You can do it for environmental planning, for sustainability, for looking at new construction sites. And I think that's going to be a big factor. I think eventually, right now, it's a gimmick, more or less. It's kind of a novelty. And they're doing a lot of demos at Autodesk. The CEO of Autodesk was wearing a headset walking through the city of Austin, Texas, the other day. I've got a video of that. It's pretty cool. It's like marketing gold for us because it was our city model.
Yeah, nice.
But the bottom line is that, you're going to see the applications flush themselves out, and the gaming industry created that technology.
So I could probably see something like, I don't know if you know Grand Theft Auto or games like that in, maybe using your city model and then with a VR headset, so you're walking through your actual real city and doing some really crazy stuff in the city.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity to do interesting interactive work. I think the big thing is that there's new transportation nodes being created now. We're going to see a big revolution in different types of, driverless vehicles and electronically driven, pods and things that are going to move people around. And so a lot of these areas that are outside the urban core you've got to get into the city and you can't park. So there's going to be new transportation nodes. And I think all that transportation-oriented development is where companies like Autodesk see their software being applied in these new cities of the future that were basically open space.
Yeah. So you mentioned VR and electric vehicles. Is there any other disruptive technologies that might combine with GIS modeling and some of the work you guys are doing?
Well, I think autonomous vehicles are like the big one, but also I think distributed energy is going to be another big deal where GIS is really, really important and 3D is important. So imagine you've got a business district in downtown Hermosa Beach, and the city's trying to cut their energy, their global, carbon footprint down, and they can only shove so many electric cars into the city. And the other thing you can do is conserve energy. So maybe what they do is they go solar, and they find they have several, high-use businesses in the business district, bars and stuff that run air conditioners and a lot of drive a lot of power, and they convert them to solar, and those businesses and those buildings share their energy amongst each other. And those microgrids are going to be the next generation power grid is our microgrids, and that's where this GIS and 3D will have a big market, I think. Yeah,
cool. And do you see something like artificial intelligence being able to, I guess, process some of the data or the information you guys can provide in any kind of way, any kind of unique way?
Yeah, I think, I mean, when you talk about artificial intelligence, you talk about, analytics. And so it starts with analytics, and then it starts with the ideas, and that's where AI comes in. So if you're looking at a city and you're talking about transportation, let's just say demographics and transportation, you have all this data that you can analyze, but in the end, you have to come up with decisions out of that, and maybe artificial intelligence can help you drive those decisions. In other words, maybe the city will benefit greatly from having more housing right in the city in tall buildings, apartments and lofts and so on, like they've done with Los Angeles, because of the carbon footprint that's going to be reduced, and because of the transportation, traffic that can be congested and cause problems. And so maybe the AI would be the information that says, hey, this is where you should put the new buildings. This is where you should design new infrastructure. So I'm sure that's coming. It's all part of parametric design. And the input is there. You just have to write the AI software for it. It's like going to get done. I don't know who's going to do it, but it's going to get done.
Yeah, awesome. So I guess as we wrap it up now, what do you think is going to have the biggest impacts in the buildings industry in the future, in the next few decades?
Well, I think there's a lot of things. In my opinion, I think new materials, a new approach to space and architecture because of the effect of social media and entertainment and the next generation millennial culture, and this new culture that is not, they're not married to their car, they're not married to their house, they want to move around. I think you're going to see infrastructure sharing. You know how you have like car sharing that's kind of starting up? I think you're going to see infrastructure. People are going to be able to use apps to literally sleep at different places in cities, like Airbnb sort of does. I think it's going to get a lot better. And I think you'll have smaller areas like they're doing in Tokyo, where you'll just show up. I don't think people will such a crisis like in Southern California. I think that's what's going to be the revolution.
Yeah.
But don't ask me to do it. I don't have the money or the time. Guys like Bezos and Elon Musk and so on, they're the ones that are going to do it. They're the ones with billions of dollars that say, "Oh, let's cure polio. Let's cure malaria."
Yeah.
So that's where you're going to see it. And these big tech players are going to get in that.
Yeah, that's nice. So there's a book I read quite recently, and I'm going to interview on another podcast of mine, Kevin Kelly, The Inevitable Understanding the 12 Technological Forces That Will Shape Our Future. And what you mentioned there is sharing he says is going to be one of the biggest things going forward. So, rather than everyone just own, in the past, just be owning certain things, everyone's going to be sharing a lot of our stuff, like you're saying with Uber and Airbnb and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I also think that you'll have hopefully it'll be in our lifetime, but like universal income, where people can live at a certain level and live a certain way and be like relatively comfortable and pursue something in their life, or they can bring on value add to their life, and it becomes more of a bolt-on, right? Where you don't have a career, you just decide to bring on value add by doing something. Mm-hmm. And I think those, maybe you're paid differently. Maybe you're paid in credits, or maybe there's other, unique economic models. But I think that's going to change the way cities are designed and built and the way people interact. And it's kind of fun to think about. I mean, you're stuck with the day-to-day business stuff, but I think it is interesting if you're a futurist when you really look at where cities are headed and, how valuable nature really is. Like, people are realizing how much more valuable the environment really is than the way we've been abusing it for so long. And I see it with all the cities in America where there's a strong desire for better urban space and smarter urban space. But there's more and more people moving to the urban environment, so they're dealing with those engineering challenges.
Yeah, awesome. So for the people listening, how can they find out more from Cybercity3d, and if they wanted to try your products, or if they wanted to, I guess, learn more about GIS modeling?
Yeah, I think they can always go to our website at www.cybercity3d.com. They can drop an email, info@cybercity3d.com, or they can just subscribe to the data, and they can do it on our website. There is a little human touch still. We haven't automated everything, but if they just if they're a student or they're doing research and they're looking at doing design build ideas of the future, or they're a new website company, subscribing to the data is a great way to do it. And we have lots of examples on our website, and you can download cesium apps and check them out and see all the different things you can do.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, thank you so much for your time, Kevin, and look forward to seeing what Cybercity3d are going to do in the future. Hey guys, Adam here. Just before you go, just one quick request. If you're enjoying the show, please leave a review. It helps our rating and ranking on iTunes, so more people can hear from the people who are making our cities better places for our future.